Pydantic AI's primary mechanism for extending agent behavior is the capability abstraction, and the pattern below demonstrates how a subclass of AbstractCapability intercepts two error hooks to log failures and optionally recover. The code defines a single data class capability that accumulates error strings and returns a fallback model response when a model request fails, while re-raising tool execution errors to let the default retry flow handle them. Code. At data class ErrorLogger AbstractCapability any logs all errors that occur during agent runs. Errors list str equals field default factory equals list. Async def on model request error. Self ctx run context any request context model request context error exception. Model response. Self errors append model error hash return a fallback response to recover. Return model response parts equals text part content equals service temporarily unavailable. Async def on tool execute error. Self ctx run context any call any tool def any args dict.str any error exception. Any self errors append tool call tool name failed error. Raise error hash re-raise to let the normal retry flow handle it. From data classes import data class field. From typing import any. From Pydantic AI import model request context run context. From Pydantic AI capabilities import AbstractCapability. From Pydantic AI messages import model response text part. At data class ErrorLogger AbstractCapability any logs all errors that occur during agent runs. Errors list str equals field default factory equals list. Async def on model request error. Self ctx run context any asterisk request context model request context error exception. Model response. Self errors append model error hash return a fallback response to recover. Return model response parts equals text part content equals service temporarily unavailable. Async def on tool execute error. Self ctx run context any asterisk call any tool def any args dict.str any error exception. Any self errors append tool call tool name failed error. Raise error hash re-raise to let the normal retry flow handle it. This is an error handling capability that implements two on-error hooks. The on-model request error hook catches model request failures and returns a fallback response so the agent can recover without terminating, while on-tool execute error logs the error but re-raises it to let Pydantic AI's built-in retry mechanism handle tool failures. The errors list accumulates error strings for later inspection. The key design decision here is the difference in recovery strategy between the two hooks. Model request errors are considered unrecoverable at the tool level, so returning a canned response keeps the run alive. Tool execution errors, on the other hand, are expected to be transient, so re-raising defers to the agent's native retry flow. This follows Pydantic AI's raise-to-propagate, return-to-recover semantics for error hooks. Let's break it down line by line. From data classes import data class field. Imports data class and field decorators from Python's standard library for defining structured data classes with automatic field initialization. From typing import any. Imports any from the typing module for generic type annotation. From Pydantic AI import model request context, run context. Imports model request context and run context from Pydantic AI. Both context objects used as parameters in agent hooks and dependency functions. From Pydantic AI, capabilities import AbstractCapability. Imports AbstractCapability from Pydantic AI. Capabilities, the base class used to define custom capabilities by subclassing it. From Pydantic AI, messages import model response, text part. Imports model response and text part from Pydantic AI. Messages, providing response containers and text content parts for model output handling. At data class ErrorLogger AbstractCapability any. Logs all errors that occur during agent runs. Defines ErrorLogger as a data class subclassing AbstractCapability, with a docstring stating it logs errors during agent runs. Errors, list str equals field default factory equals list. Declares an errors field as a list of strings, defaulting to an empty list via default factory. Self CTX, run context any asterisk request context, model request context error, exception. Declares a lifecycle hook method that receives run context, model request context, and an exception as parameters, typical error handler signature. Model response. Trivial syntax, closing parenthesis and return type annotation for a function. Self errors append model error. Appends a formatted error string to a list called self errors, tagging it with model error prefix. Hash return a fallback response to recover. Return model response parts equals text part content equals service temporarily unavailable. Returns a model response containing a single text part with the message service temporarily unavailable. Async def on tool execute error. Declares an async lifecycle hook named onToolExecuteError that fires when a tool execution fails. Self CTX, run context any asterisk call, any tool def, any args, dictstr any error, exception. Defines a lifecycle hook method accepting a run context, a tool call identifier, a tool definition, a dictionary of arguments, and an exception, all keyword, only after the separator. Zen. Closing parenthesis and return type annotation for a function or method signature, indicating the function returns a value of type any. Self errors, append tool call tool name failed, error. Appends a formatted error string to a self errors list, recording that a tool call failed by name along with the error details. Raise error hash, re-raise to let the normal retry flow handle it. Re-raises the current exception, delegating retry handling to an existing error flow. The comment explicitly notes this re-raise is intentional for retry orchestration. 2 error hooks, 1 pattern. The ErrorLogger capability subclasses AbstractCapability to intercept failures, but each hook takes a different recovery path because the failure modes are different. Model request errors are unrecoverable at the tool level, so returning a fallback model response with a text part keeps the run alive. Tool execution errors are expected to be transient, so re-raising defers to the agent's built-in retry flow. That raise-to-propagate, return-to-recover split is the whole design. Both hooks log to self-errors, giving you a single list to inspect after a run finishes regardless of which path was taken.
The ErrorLogger that holds every model error and tool failure in its list, yet says nothing.